Historical Inquiries Unit should be able to do more than the HET ever did. For example, my own case, where I was an injured person, my father died of a heart attack, the HET didn't take my case on. And the reason for that was I didn't die, and they considered my father's death would be manslaughter, not murder. The HIU will be able to take on severely injured cases and people who died of heart attacks at the scene of crime. So, in a sense that, my own particular case, that would suit. I do expect it to be pretty vigorous. Certainly it won't make the mistakes I would think the HET made about not interviewing security forces people as they would have done paramilitaries in the same sort of vigor. Perhaps the big question might be over the information retrieval. We don't know how the paramilitary groups will respond to that. I mean, I've often heard it said, oh, it's easy to get the state because they have records, paramilitaries didn't keep records, and they might not even come forward. I've heard Martin McGuinness say in Stormont that he would come forward when he was questioned about his testimony to the Bloody Sunday thing. He said he would come forward. But the other thing that I was prepared to give both Loyalists and Republicans the benefit of the doubt. I mean, if I go back 10 years or 15 years to the decommission issue, and people said, oh, the paramilitaries will never decommission, it'll never happen. But they did. So it's possible that they might have to, we won't know till we test them what way they will respond. The oral archive, I think, is a fantastic idea. I believe it's going to be a true history of the Troubles. It's going to be no politics, but it's going to be the story of all the families that were devastated by injuries or death. And we'll hear from them firsthand how that affected their families, the ripple of violence within the families. And that is a brilliant archive to have for future generations to see, so that they can see the futility and the uselessness of violence. That when people come on board with this wrap the flag around me stuff, with a green flag or the Ulster flag, here's an archive that shows you where that leads to. Everybody is, going to suffer. Nobody wins. Civil wars, nobody wins. Everybody loses. Well, one of the big things would be recognition. Recognition that this society that is going the right direction is built upon suffering and loss of a lot of people. And those of us that are still alive and the widows of people that should be given the recognition for their loss. And the way to do that is through, we believe, a pension. Pension for the seriously injured, and if I had my way, it would be a pension for widows as well. But certainly a pension for seriously injured is a form of recognition of the loss and the fact that their lives will continue. Every day we get up, we get into a wheelchair, we're never going to be beyond that. I have constant memories of what this Troubles cost me, and the recognition would be a pension. As I say, that's probably very selfish, but as you get older, you realize finances is what, to continue living at home, I need to be able to have the finances to make sure that happens. I don't want to end up in a nursing home by the time I'm 70. I want to be able to keep my independent life going. I can't do that without that assistance from the state. So that would be one thing that I would put forward, assuming that the other things about truth and justice are all worked out in the new systems. That would be a big thing, and it's basically about, everyday life. Well, truth would be nice. The people would know the truth of what happened to themselves or to their relative. That would be nice, and the advantage of truth is that it would destroy the myths of violence. There's a lot of stories, circulate around campaigns of violence, and it would be a good way of destroying those, that we know the truth, that it's a messy, dirty business, and everybody here, there's nobody here with clean hands. Everybody here, governments, paramilitaries, are all guilty of horrible crimes, and let's have that out there. And the education of our next generation in universities, not talk about the violence, let's face it, the Second World War, the greatest evil ever was Nazism. We didn't, when the war was over, not talk about it. There's guys doing O-levels in Nazism to talk about it, and the reason to talk about it is when you understand it, you don't repeat it. We need to be doing the same here with our so-called Troubles conflict. We need to be having that aired, open in the air, and kids talking about it, that, to realize it was wrong and the damage it's done.
I think they could, but I don't think they have delivered very well. And there are a number of reasons for this. One is that people have felt we had to sort out all the politics and the peace process before we could address the needs of individual victims. That's not true. We could have been dealing with it much more fully at a much earlier stage. And so I think we should press more for the health service and other facilities to be able to deliver those services for individual victims. Then there's the question of how, as a community as a whole, we deal with the past. That's been much more of a struggle. One of the things is they need to understand it is the past. Part of the problem is that there are many things continuing on for people in terms of the involvement of paramilitaries and other people who have inflicted injury on them, and people don't feel it is entirely the past, so it's very difficult to deal with it as the past. Then there are processes that we can also engage in as a whole community to move on to a different place. Those are important aspects which have not yet been addressed. I think the first thing is this business of moving on so that we're no longer in a peace process, that the problems of the past are actually problems of the past, and that means finally dealing with issues of paramilitaries and so on and so on. That's the first thing I would say. The second is to make sure that there are proper services available for all of those who have suffered injury or damage, physical or emotional. And there are also practical issues which can be done to help people who are in difficulties. And the third thing, of course, is some kind of proper process to deal with that past and its legacy. And that's been the biggest stumbling block politically, as we know.